Now.
My name is Cheryl Espinosa, and I'm giving a speech on prayer. Prayer, what is it, and why should we do it? Most of the people in the United States, if not the world, have heard of prayer. But do they know what it really is? In my research, I have found that there are many types of prayer and ways to pray. I am here today to discuss prayer and the one true God. Do you know who the God of the Bible is and why we pray to him? According to the Bible and the many books written on the subject, prayer is multiple things, but first and foremost, it is communication with God. In consequence to that, it refreshes us and it gives us time to set aside for the Creator, to ask him for help and to commune with him. What then exactly is prayer and why should we do it? According to Warren Wiersbe in Prayer 101, prayer is the means God ordained to glorify himself by sharing his love with his children, meeting their needs, and accomplishing his purposes through their lives and the lives of others. Additionally, Philip Yancey in Prayer Does It Make a Difference says prayer is the essential human act, a priceless point of contact with the God of the universe. While both definitions explain what prayer is, Yancey says it far more succinctly. Thus, prayer is communicating with God. Andrew Murray, in his book, Andrew Murray on Prayer, says words of immeasurable value. Prayer is of unspeakable importance and the pulse of life. Packard and Nystrom say in praying, it is the spiritual pulse, and by this our health may be tested. So what does all this mean to us? It's a chance to have a two-way conversation with God, including speaking to and hearing from. For us, prayer is absolutely critical to having a life of fulfillment. It is what allows us to keep a calm spirit in whitewater rafting conditions. And according to Dr. Stephen Bell, of his book, A Man's Field Guide to Prayer, prayer is the very air we breathe. If prayer is the very air we breathe, if it holds that much importance, should we not know more about this subject? So let's talk about how to pray. In the Gospels of Matthew and Luke in the Bible, Jesus supplies us with a template for prayer. It's called the Lord's Prayer. As written in Matthew, it is as follows. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. There are many translations of this prayer into English. I have used the traditional King James Version, which many people use to memorize. Our next question is, how does this prayer teach us proper prayer technique? Number one, this prayer refers to God as our Father and us calling out to him. Next, this verse addresses how we identify our God. This is significant because a name in Hebrew defined your character and your reputation. Thirdly, it's a reverence to the Creator of heaven and earth, and it's about wanting life here on earth to be like life in heaven, as well as surrendering our life to God's will and his plan rather than our own. And as a result of this, we then depend on God to give us our sustenance, our protection, and guidance. Fourth, as Yancey says, we are asking God to forgive us and to give us that same attitude of forgiveness he has towards others. Lastly, it is to help us in our day to be aware of the distractions that are pulling us away from our Father and to keep on track to resist evil. One more thing, we must not forget that Jesus left us the Holy Spirit to lead us in life and our prayer. This blessing must be utilized when we're conversing with God. A great deal is said in that very short prayer, and yet we learn so much. The NIV application commentary on the verses found in Luke says that this whole prayer reflects a person's total reliance on God. Recognition of that fact is at the very heart of this prayer. The Lord's Prayer shows us a way to pray, and it's a very good place to start your prayer journey. On the other hand, what happens when we do not pray? If we do not converse with the God of the Bible, number one, we stand alone in a world under the domination of God's enemy. We're left vulnerable to become worldly and legalistic without God's humbling voice. As Warren Meyer states in Pray, How to Be Effective in Prayer, if we fail to pray, we cause God to withhold the many blessings he longs to bestow on us. One of those many blessings is the Holy Spirit, who leads us how to pray, who to pray for, and he guides our daily steps in our walk with God. To review, we've learned that prayer is time spent with God. It's asking for help and repenting the error of our ways. It's welcoming God into our life, which allows his will to prevail. In addition, we've become aware that Jesus gave us a pattern on how to pray and what that entails for us today, what that means for us today. We also gain knowledge of what happens when we do not take advantage of this wonderful gift of prayer. In conclusion, prayer is critical to every aspect of our life. It is many things, but at the base of it, it is a conversation with the all-knowing God of the universe, who wants a relationship with his children. Again, as Yancey said, it's the essential human act. But sadly, many do not realize it. If you do not spend time in prayer, don't you think it's time you start? God is waiting.